When you think of the greatest moment in superhero media, the same thing will probably spring to mind. It'll probably be something like the train scene in Spider-Man 2, the interrogation in The Dark Knight, Captain America lifting the hammer, the superheroes getting dusted, or one of my favourites, the leap of faith scene in Spider-Verse. Most of the time, people just like seeing their favourite superheroes doing stuff that's just really cool. Like, look at this shit, man, this is so awesome!
I will burn this planet down before I spend another minute living among these animals.
As of right now, Invincible is one of the biggest superhero shows, being part of the new wave of the more darker and violent superhero IPs. And I have not seen much of it. Like, I've seen the first season, but that's about it. Not that I didn't like it, I thought it was really good, but I got on to watching a lot of other stuff, and the next 3 seasons I've just entered the backlog of things I need to watch. And even though I liked the show, I wouldn't really say it's one of my favourite TV shows, and I wouldn't even say it's my favourite superhero show. But this series has spawned an episode that I love and think about pretty regularly. An episode that I would put in my top 10 episodes of all time, and that episode title is Where I Really Come From. But before we talk about that, I need to talk a bit about the first season as a whole. Season 1 of Invincible is actually quite tame compared to episode 8. In comparison being the key word. A majority of season 1 is just your typical animated superhero show. I mean, from the outside, it looks like it'd go right along with X-Men 97 and the Batman animated series. And that was the point. They make it very tame so that when they do something crazy, it shocks you. But season 1 really wanted to focus on showing Mark's origin story. Every superhero's origin shows them losing a ton of fights, and Mark's is no different. In every confrontation, he gets the shit beaten out of him. But it also wants to show us Mark's capability. Mark is insanely durable, he's able to bounce back from pretty much anything. The show also makes a point to show off how strong Omni-Man is, because at the time, he is the strongest character in the entire series. But because he's not only training him, but he's also Mark's father, we know one day he will be able to be just like him. However, the show also wants to show us how strong Omni-Man is, so when the big fight does come, we are scared shitless. Like, Mark can barely take on the local hoodlums, whereas Omni-Man's just deleting planets. No one can combat him and even come close to stopping him, meaning the only one who stands a chance is... The episode starts with a calming shot of a field, before blood begins to rain upon it, and following soon, the Immortal. Mark is completely shook from this kill, so much so, he thinks Omni-Man has been possessed. But Omni-Man pushes back and tells Mark he's not possessed, and in fact, this is the first time he's been his true self. Omni-Man begins to tell Mark the truth behind Viltrumite, that it wasn't the powerful planet that it is by accident, but it was because of a mass culling. The Viltrumites had a huge war with no exceptions. The whole planet was at war, with only 50 being left over, and those who were left were the strongest of them all. The survivors were then sent out to take over planets and welcome them into the Viltrumite Empire. And while this may actually seem kind of innocent, because they want to kind of, help other planets, what they really want to do is breed with other races and continue their lineage and just expand their empire and power in the universe. And turns out, Omni-Man was not sent down to be a hero, but a weapon of mass destruction. He was sent down to destroy all oppositions so that when they did take over Earth, it wouldn't be that hard to do so. Not that they couldn't have done it, they absolutely could have, but it would just be more convenient for them. Mark is obviously shocked from this, and I'm sure we all would be and are listening to this, because this recontextualized everything Omni-Man has ever said. In the second episode, he tells an entire planet that
you don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
And on first watch, you think this is just something badass for him to say before defending Earth, but on rewatch, it's him telling them, yeah, I'm taking over Earth. Fuck you. He's waited so long and only killed the Guardians of the Globe now because Mark finally gained his powers. And he now knows whether he can get his son to help him, or in Mark's own words,
I'd just be one more human to conquer.
But Mark is actually wrong in this. He didn't want to know if he needed to control him, but more if he needed to kill him. He needed to know if he needed to kill his own son. And while Mark is obviously shocked by this, Omni-Man still keeps his calm demeanor, telling Mark they're gonna live for a long time. Viltrumites live for a long time. The longer they live, the slower they age. So by the time Mark looks 30, everyone who experienced the takeover is gonna be dead. So Mark might as well join him, because in the grand scheme of things, the world won't even remember the takeover, they'll just assume that's how it's always been. And again, he's telling Mark all the good that they can do, like they can make people live longer and save a lot more people, but they need to take over whether they like it or not. He's even saying it in a way to excite Mark, speaking kind of very joyous of this. But in the end, Mark won't go against his own people. And even though Omni-Man is disappointed by this, he wasn't bluffing when he said he killed Mark. And if that's something he has to do,
So be it.
so the two of them fight. Something you probably noticed is how much better the animation is in this episode compared to the rest. A lot of the other episodes have moments where the animation looks like a fucking PowerPoint presentation. To the point that clip I just showed, I made that. That was something I did. But it's clear they saved up a lot of the budget for this episode, which definitely helps show the scale and brutality of what's to come. Now, to be fair to him, Omni-Man isn't being outright brutal here. He's still trying to convince Mark, but he's just absolutely taking Mark's punches. The moves that are making Mark one of the strongest superheroes of all time is doing fuck all to Omni-Man. We cut to Cecil and he's like, okay guys, this isn't really great, but we can send out some jets to try and slow him down. Omni-Man destroys the jets within seconds, with them barely making a scratch on him, and if anything, they only serve to annoy him. But Mark quickly saves one of the pilots, showing that he does care about life over anything else. But Omni-Man easily extinguishes that. Without almost any effort, he just kills the pilot. It's truly one of the most horrifying moments of the entire first season, but it goes to show just how powerful Omni-Man is compared to Mark and the human race. And once again, Mark is horrified by this. His father has stooped to a new low. But Omni-Man can't stop there. If he's ever going to convince Mark, he needs to show him how truly pathetic humanity is. We get some calm and relaxing shots of Chicago at rest. There's no issues, no semblance of danger, something that would quickly get obliterated. Literally. And just like the animation, I think the cinematography does wonders here. Now, unlike the animation, the cinematography is generally really good in the entire show, with only a few shots here looking stiff. But there are absolutely no stiff shots here that are boring to look at. This entire sequence is absolutely beautiful to look at, and it does an excellent job of conveying the true horror of what's happening. Like, this sweeping shot of Mark is able to do so much. He simply stood there in shock, but everyone and everything is burning around him with so many cries in the background. And the show even does something that we haven't seen before with killing a child. Like I said, it's something the show's never done. We've never seen a child die before, and I think it's to show that Omni-Man has truly been unleashed. He will do whatever it takes to convince Mark to join his side. But Mark's doing the exact same back, trying to show his dad what he's doing. These people, humanity as a whole, Debbie, they once looked up to him. He had to at some point have some positive feelings towards him. And Omni-Man just says, yeah, sure, I was happy, but I'm loyal to Viltrum. He even says that Debbie, the woman he's supposed to love, her life is meaningless. And that if anything, she was just a pet to him. And in a messed up way, he's trying to convince Mark to feel the same way about his own mother. But I think he's trying to do that whole thing of dehumanizing the enemy. If Omni-Man can make Mark see his own mother as worthless, then he can surely get him to do whatever he wants and help him take over the planet. But Mark shows no signs of budging. He won't stop. He will always protect humanity. So Omni-Man commits his worst atrocity yet.
Maybe this time you'll learn.
Omni-Man's used Mark's face to kill loads of people to show him how fragile they are. They can be killed so easily. Mark's face alone is killing hundreds of them, and taking them over, if anything, could be seen as mercy. And Omni-Man continues to do this, using Mark himself to be a way to kill thousands of people. Omni-Man eventually realizes there's no way to turn Mark. He's still half human after all. So he shows Mark a bit of that Viltrum hospitality. Omni-Man pins Mark to a mountainside, basically torturing him, saying if Mark chooses to be a human, he's just as worthless as the rest of them. So worthless, in fact, that he's willing to start over and have a whole nother child to replace him. He's completely lost it. At this point, Mark means nothing to him, and he's willing to kill his own son. But in this moment, Omni-Man has a memory. Omni-Man remembers watching Mark doing something very familiar with many American children, and that is playing baseball. At this point, Nolan is still very much a Viltrumite. Once again, he shows how pointless he thinks this all is, and if anything, he pities Mark for thinking that this is an important moment. But Debbie talks to him, saying that this moment is important because it's important to Mark. Simply watching Mark have fun and doing something that means a lot to him makes it matter. And right at that moment, Mark hits a home run. He begins to run around the pitch as Debbie continues to talk to Nolan, telling him that this is humanity, and no matter how much stronger he may one day be, it doesn't matter what Mark is. It doesn't matter whether he's a Viltrumite or a human. In this moment, he's happy, and that's what should matter to Nolan. At this moment, no matter what life throws at him, and life is going to throw a lot of shit at him, he's happy, and no one can take that away from him. And it's at that moment that Nolan understands. And just like everyone else, he cheers on Mark right as he secures the home run. Everyone cheers, with Mark running up to Nolan, probably looking for his approval. Because, you know, being the son of a Viltrumite, you're probably not going to get that much of it. But now, it's different. Mark is his son. No matter how pointless it may seem to him, his son did something that's important to him. This moment is my favourite of the show, and like the title of this video indicates, my favourite in superhero media. It's a beautiful moment that I think really shows the role of parenthood. It stops being a show about superpowered people slamming into each other, but instead now an excellent depiction of parenting. And I think the fact that this was a simple baseball scene, a simple baseball match, not even the final match of a season, just a fucking practice session, ultimately the most forgettable part of playing baseball, is something Omni-Man remembers dearly. Because at the time, his son was happy, and that's what mattered.
Yeah, I saw.
We cut back to Mark. Instead of a happy, smiley child, he's battered and bruised beyond comprehension. Omni-Man looks at him right after remembering that baseball game. What's he done? This was his little boy who he raised since birth, and here he was almost dead at his own hands. And Omni-Man fucking loses it.
Why did you make me do this? You're fighting so you can watch everyone around you die. Think, Mark! You'll outlast every fragile, insignificant being on this planet. You'll live to see this world crumble to dust and blow away. Everyone and everything you know will be gone.
I think everyone's heard this monologue at least once, because it is absolutely perfect. It's his final attempt to change Mark, to change him from who he is. In 500 years, he's gonna have fuck all. So why is he fighting? What will he have after 500 years?
I still have you.
It's an answer Omni-Man clearly wasn't expecting. You can clearly see the shock on his face, because I think the question was meant to be rhetorical. He probably thought Mark wouldn't have an answer. You know, in the time he's been told this, he's been thrown around fucking America, right? He hasn't had much time to think about this. But this answer shows otherwise. It was a purposeful answer, one Mark clearly knew and had thought about, in the same time his dad was using him as a weapon to slaughter people. Showing that after all this, after all the bad shit that Omni-Man's done, he still cares for his dad. And Omni-Man stops seeing Mark as his foe, but now as his child. And he clearly doesn't know how to respond. His child still cares about him, even though he's beaten him to the point of fucking death. So, he just leaves. He doesn't attempt to take over Earth, he just leaves. Because no matter how loyal he is, no matter how much he wants to accomplish his mission, he can't kill his own son. So while Mark's recovering from the beatdown of his life, I should probably explain why I love this scene so much. Why do I call it the best superhero moment of all time, when I'm not even the biggest fan of the show? Well, I think it's because it stopped being a superhero show and became a show about people. The love between family and how important it can be to someone. Omni-Man's whole mission was to take over Earth, and a simple memory of his son being happy was able to stop him. And I think this is heavily elevated by the performance from J.K. Simmons and Stephen Yeun, respectively. They're both incredible actors and are able to convey so much emotion in this 20 minutes alone. And I think, if anything, more superhero shows need to have moments like this. A moment where the powers and the capes and the fights take a moment to the side, and the people under the mask take center stage. It's a huge moment for Omni-Man, and it changed the entire trajectory of this episode, and really the show as a whole. But yeah, this video isn't just me glazing Invincible, more me saying, more superhero movies and TV shows need to have moments like this. Moral of the story, I don't know, be nice to your fucking kids. Maybe don't use their face to commit a massacre, but that's just me.